This is a rebuild on a DLTX-53 Carburator for John Deere. When I was looking around for rebuilds, I couldn't find anybody that could tell me where the DLTX-53 was. But if you look right here, that's where they've got their 5.3 stamped in the carburetor. I've taken and pulled everything apart, painted it, and I ordered a set of brass inserts to compensate some of the ones that I had that were boogered up. And I've taken and inserted the old brass plug here, and I went and bought a petcock, and I've inserted that. So I guess if you're building this from, or if you're taking one of these apart, this will show you all the components at least. So if I were to redo this, I would take and insert the float. When I pulled this apart, the spring, let me see if I can find my spring. Here's my spring. It was rotten, so I had to order a new spring, but this carburetor came apart pretty easy. Here's my jet. My jet was one of the hardest things to get out. It was stuck up in here pretty good, and I went to the local hardware store and I bought a screw. It's a metric 12. This one's 1.25 inches long, but I was able to thread my jet, and so then I would just put these washers on as I needed them to keep pulling it until I got it out. So to reassemble and put my jet in, I'll just use my screw here. And once I got the jet out, I took this triangle file and I filed on the inside to get the cancerous deposits off. And that took a little while, but as you can see, it went in pretty smooth now. So now that my jet's in, you've got these two screws here which hold the pivot pin for the jet. I ordered a new kit, and so when I was getting these out, or any brass fitting for that matter, I learned a long time ago that I've got a round piece of brass that's about that big, and you can use that as a punch on these and it won't damage the brass, and it jars those free. So it's like a 1/2 inch piece of brass. It's probably 6 inches long. So we're going to take and screw these back in, get them snug. And like I said, your float pivots on this pin, so you're going to put it through the center of that hole and right into the center of that bolt that or that nut you just put in. And now that it's seated in there, now I can put in this other one. So now my float's good, and now with that I ordered, like I say, I ordered a kit. Came with a new needle and seat. Make sure you put your gasket on your seat before you thread it in, and then your needle, you don't drop it down in there. I put my float in upside down. So as you put your float in, make sure that these ears are up and insert it in there. Those ears are going to receive your float. Sometimes it takes a bit to get that needle to stand in there. Once you've got your needle locked in there, insert your brass screws. And it helps if you insert your pivot pin in there as you're installing it. So then I'm going to take my seat. Don't forget your gasket here. We're going to screw it in. It's a 5/8. We're going to screw it in snug. The wrench on and torque it down just a touch. Okay. Like you're watching there, my needle comes up. So that portion's ready. So if I were taking my carburetor apart initially, I'd pull this section off and that's what I'd see. And so I'd take out the seat, I'd hit this with my brass 1/2-inch bar as a punch to knock that loose, pull the pin out. Alright, just got a few screws here that I pulled out and cleaned. Here's my old seat. On this section, the way that this works is your fluid goes in here and it fills up this little bowl. Then it goes through the screen, and up here in the center of this bolt there's a hole, and so it overflows and comes down this large hole through or across your needle, and then it starts to fill this large bowl. So here is your choke. And I've taken and cleaned the choke plates, the two plates that go in here. So the smaller one goes to the choke. Just a matter of getting it lined up like it needs to be. And my kit did come with screws for the choke plate. You can see the new choke plate there. I may end up getting a second washer to place between here and the carburetor body, but for now this is what it came with, or what I had to start with. So I'm just going to hand tighten that, but at some point probably want to tighten it a little farther maybe. And then you have your needles. And you can't really put them in backwards. The one's pointy and the other's not. And there's just not enough room to put them in backwards. So I'm going to snug them up. So that's snug. When I took them out, I just recorded how far they were out. So this more pointed one was out 2 turns. Whether that's right or not, I won't know. And then this other one was out 4 1/4 turns. So 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. Now that seems a bit excessive on this load one, but for now we'll just let it go. Now I've got to install, this is the choke plate. And I did not get new screws for the choke plate, so I'm just using my old ones. And that's pretty much all the parts. Now it's just a matter of we'll set our gasket on. So like I said, it was part of the kit. And then I think this bowl is ambidextrous, but I need to put this on this side to access it, followed by the spring, followed by our